Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of MTG Study Hall. I, as always, am your host, Brett, and I am joined, as usual, by...
JC?
And...
Dave.
And we've got a lot of really fun stuff to talk about today. I'm very excited about it. Before we do that, we have to get done with some bookkeeping. So, Dave, you want to take care of that?
Yeah, you can support us by checking us out on the Facebook and YouTube and Patreon, all.com/TCG University. You can enroll on our Patreon and get the cool Class of 2020 shirt. I guess by the time this airs on the YouTube, it's going to be February, and we'll have something cool then, too. So if you're part of the Patreon, keep your eyes peeled for that. If you're not, get on the Patreon and then keep your eyes peeled for that. We are available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, and go rate us. Give us those 5 stars. 5 stars? 5 stars.
5 stars.
5 stars. 5 of them. And help us grow by sharing with your friends. If we made you laugh or think or anything like that, share it. Helps out a bunch.
Cool. And as always, we'd like to welcome and thank our Patreon Junior sponsors. We very much appreciate you. You want to be on this list, $5 on Patreon. So all the love, all the thanks, all the wonderful things to Clay Cardwell, Jay Rogers, Jerome Weeks Jr., Justin Farce, Kat Maria, Kevin Broberg, Lucinda Letica, Samantha Stevens, Teodora Ruiz, Tyler Zane Pease. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Alrighty. So, before we launch into the first topic, what we were doing in and out of Magic, Dave, you're up first this week.
Oh, cool. Well, someone let me know that they introduced a new PvP system for Pokemon Go. And that was literally Brett like a few minutes before we started.
It's really cool.
It's as he's watching me like getting just varianced out super hard by somebody that had my number. All right, so it's the 3v3 that you were doing with the Team Rocket Stops and the leaders and the things like if you're around your buddy, you could challenge them. And
the local challenge,
right.
Yeah.
So now it's a random thing. It looks like we're going to have a leaderboard associated with it. After 5 battles, it looks like, you have to walk 5 kilometers in order to recharge it and be able to battle again. So considering it is still bullshit degrees outside, I'm really glad that I have my winter coat, and I'm going to see exactly how many times I can walk 5 kilometers to recharge that because...
Pokemon.
I intend to be the very best.
Fun fact. If you have a Google Watch or something that does the Google Fit that syncs with Pogo, and you do treadmill walking, you can. So I run inside. So I run on my treadmill inside, and because I turn on treadmill running on this, I get my distance in Pogo.
Right.
So you still have to run, but I can do it and be warm.
The only problem with that is in bullshit weather states and states where we have an inherent disadvantage because our weather sucks. It's hard to catch new things.
Yeah.
In that regard, I mean, you can hatch a bunch of eggs, I guess.
So what I'm hearing you say is, once we need to call up this podcast so I can buy one of those watches and just grind the treadmill.
Yeah.
The entirety of my weekend.
Or honestly, if you have like a Pixel or something, I don't know what phone you use.
Your phone should work too. It's just you just won't be able to
Galaxy
use
9.
it. You just won't be able to use it.
It does the whole geodata thing, which is normally fine, but obviously that doesn't do anything about the treadmill.
If you track, I haven't tested with just the phone. If you track running, if you go start activity, treadmill running, maybe that'll work. Anyway, that's what else have you done?
Played a lot of Mono Black on my phone. That's pretty sweet.
Okay.
So, we were talking about the metagame challenge before we started the pre-show or the pre-show.
And
or
last week,
last
week episodes tell you if you want to play a read on your phone, it explains how to do it.
Word. So we for those of you that weren't in the room, which there were 3 of us at that time, Brett was talking about how great the mono red deck is. I was saying, well, I mean, I guess it's good against things that aren't mono black, but I obviously am super biased towards mono black because that deck's sweet. Deck's always going to be sweet. I like Gray Merchant back in Standard. But yeah, no, Mono Black seems like it's going to be the real deal until somebody breaks the format wide open with a card that shouldn't have been printed.
Escape from Underworld Breach. So Underworld Breach.
I don't think that card's going to be overly good in Standard, but I think that card was definitely a mistake for Vintage and
Legacy and Modern and possibly Pioneer.
It's... I'm less concerned about it with Pioneer. Like, if you get to rebuy stuff, nothing has the word Storm on it. And you can't replay land. It's not exactly Yawgmoth's Will.
I mean, there is an infinite. There is a win the game. It's technically not infinite. There is a win the game combo in Standard right now with it.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
What turn does it go off?
You need to go a little bit. You need very quickly. You need Lucky Clover.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. We can go over this in the post show.
Yeah. We'll do. Okay. We're going to talk about this post show.
We'll talk about it in post. It's fine.
So anything else in or out of Magic?
Not just those things.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
JC?
Sure. Inside of Magic, I bought this. It's a box of Theros Beyond Death, and that is the most amount of money I have ever spent on one purchase and Magic. So that's a thing that gives me feelings of like, wow.
JC,
Yeah.
it gets easier.
Does it?
Yeah.
Does it?
It's the first time you. The first
I
time
will
you.
tell you, the first taste is not free.
The first time you buy heroin, it feels like a really big moment.
I'm going to tell you right now, the first taste absolutely was free. As someone went, hey, here's one of the theme decks and a booster pack.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way I've been. Before this, I just piecemeal bought single cards, bought decks, like bought some boosters, collected that way, not like.
Getting a full box. Well, we get to do something cool with that.
We do.
I don't know if we've cut the promos.
Stay tuned.
Well, we cut the promo.
We cut the promo. We're going to record one of those videos, and we're going to take the headshot. So hopefully one of those videos is going to come up soon. Yeah, Tim? So yeah, we're doing a deck in a box challenge, and so that's going to be coming soon. But we're all opening a box, making a super sealed deck out of it, and then we're going to be playing a tournament with it. So it's going to be super fun. So those videos are coming soon.
Coming soon, right at you. And
we haven't figured out what we want to set up as the prize for that yet, have we?
Oh no, I didn't even consider that.
We'll figure it out in post.
We'll talk about it in post. That's fair.
Inside Magic. Other than that, just kind of watching what's going on a little bit. Haven't been playing too much. I've been really busy with work stuff in general. And the other thing outside Magic is watching all these impeachment hearings and the car wreck that is.
That is a nicer, like.
I'm being very PG.
Yes, you absolutely. I wanted to say partisan shit show, but I like yours better.
It's so frustrating to people watching this in the future, wondering about the Trump impeachment. Wow, those Senate hearings are something.
I've been trying to avoid it because I'm trying to keep my stress levels low.
I'm watching it at work. I'm not watching. I'm listening to it with my phone down at work. It makes me type harder.
Like you're like tuned into NPR. You're like, are you fucking kidding me? Really?
No, it's just C-SPAN. I'm just hearing it raw.
Oh boy.
Oh,
yeah.
Like at least like I'm hearing it on the drive into work, and I'm getting NPR's color commentary on it, which is mainly just, hey, this is what's happening for those that can't look at what's going on.
So
this is why this is going on. They're writing down questions on a card. It's kind of old school, but that's how we've decided to do this.
I promise we won't turn this into a whole politics podcast here, but just to say it, all the questions they've been asking are tantamount to like, well, he is guilty, isn't he? Asking, and then like the other side is like, he is clearly not guilty, right? Because the evidence is not enough. Right? Question mark.
This sounds thrilling. I'm really sad I missed out on this.
I'll for those of you in the future, I'll give the TLDR of exactly what's going on right now. The president is guilty as shit. The question is, do people care? Do they care? That's really what they're going on right now. As like Giuliani has admitted, oh yeah, we totally withheld aid from the Ukraine. That's like he admitted that on live television. That happened. Like, they have him dead to rights on committing this.
You get 3 more sentences, Dave.
The question is, does anyone give a shit in a position to remove him? Yeah. That's it. Like,
got him too.
That's what it boils down to.
Okay. So, yeah, that's for those of you who are watching this in the post-apocalypse and have struggled and put this together somehow on some kind of flash drive. Yeah, that's how it all started. So, anything else in or out of Magic?
Was never higher.
Was never. Oh Lord. Okay, in Magic, a fair amount. Put together 2 commander decks, which was time consuming and kind of expensive, but they are awesome. I made a Queen Marchesa deck that is like a wheel graveyard deck that's super fun.
She's the Grix?
No, the original Marchesa, the Black
Mardu.
Rose is I'm doing the Mardu deck.
Okay.
That just makes you Monarch, and then I won my first game with it off of Revel in Riches. I just had a Revel in Riches, and someone nuked the board, and I went, "Hey, I've got 15 treasures. Does anyone have an artifact enchantment removal?" And no one did, so I won.
Do you guys not use the house rules of when the game is changed to target player loses the game?
We wanted to no, we don't do that.
Or I guess a player of your choice loses the game, so you can get around stuff like that.
We just wanted to play another game. The game had gone on for a good amount of time.
That's you.
So we just wrapped it up, and then I made a Perforos deck, which I got to play with a couple times, and that deck is awesome. I didn't win, but it felt like I did.
Well, at the end of the day, isn't that the important thing about your format?
Commander. Yeah, we had fun. It was a good game.
To have fun. You're there to play some cool games.
Yes, neat stuff happened, so that was fun. I built mono green and mono red in standard. Did the metagame challenge like Dave mentioned. Went 3-3. Went 3-1. Timed out. opponent slow played me so hard. We got to the 50-minute cutoff in Arena, so that was
ouch.
Yeah, I already have enough stress in my life. I don't need to pay attention to politics. My housemates all got to listen to me screaming at this individual for probably 30 minutes.
I mean, speaking of slow playing, Nancy Pelosi. No, I'm just
Oh my god! I'm trying, Tam. I'm doing my best, trying to keep him on, but I'm only one man, and. So Magic's been a lot of fun. Been doing a lot of Magic stuff. Very excited. Theros has been a sweet set and super fun to play with Insander and Commander. Outside of Magic, Destiny 2 and trying, which is a lot of fun.
Have you been playing Destiny 2?
Yeah, I've been playing Destiny 2.
I intend to play it.
You should hop on. It's really easy to pick up and play, and we do PvE and PvP. So nice. No, Destiny 2 is awesome.
Yep.
Cool. It's free to play.
I know.
And it's just It doesn't feel super time consuming like WoW and other stuff.
Yeah, some people like it. I don't know. The whole MMO feel. I'm kind of.
I know
I'm going to play the Magic MMO for all the reasons. I'm probably going to hate it though.
It's a squad-based MMO.
I mean,
it's
well, that's the other part too. I always like to solo in those types of games too.
It's not like you're going out and crafting.
Well, okay, Dave, hello, play with us. It's free. It's an FPS, which I like FPSs, and I get to make numbers go up, and oh boy, does that make my brain
bars.
That makes my brain give me good chemicals. So
that's true. Are you guys playing on PlayStation 4?
Computer, PC, free on Steam.
Hashtag PC Master.
Oh, it's fine. So I can play it on my phone.
Yes, Dave, you can play it on your phone. Okay,
hold on.
And for those who aren't watching, Dave is patting himself on the back.
Indeed.
In addition to that, the only other thing I'm doing is I'm trying to get as many Oscar movies watched as possible. I watched a bunch of movies. I subjected myself to Antichrist by Lars von Trier.
Okay, I've heard of it.
Don't watch that movie. It's good. Well, it's an effective film. I'm not even going to tell you what happens in it, which is going to make you all curious. It's very, very intense at points, and there are some very over-the-top, gratuitous things that occur. And so if you are any amount of squeamish, or even like, oh, I'm not that squeamish, you're probably this squeamish.
Gratuitous in what direction? Like violence?
Sexual violence.
Oh, both. The combo.
Yes. Yeah, the really intense combo. So, again, unless you are into really dark subject matter and have quite the stomach for intense stuff, do not watch it. If those seem appealing things, it was a very effective film. And then I watched Trash Humpers by Harmony Korine, which is technically a movie.
I would like to know more.
Post-show. I want to talk a lot about it. I'm writing Trash Humpers down.
Join us for the post-show as Brett talks about Trash Humpers.
So fucking great.
Trash Humpers, right?
Trash Humpers by Harmony Korine. Okay, Tam's flashing the time, which means we have to start talking about Magic.
Let's do that. We'll talk about Trash Humpers and whether or not Rutger Hauer was in it.
No one was in it. No one that you know was in it. There are new Magic cards that are coming out in February. So when this video goes live, so it is. Oh gosh, I'm so bad at unsaid names. This is
unsanctioned.
Unsanctioned. So unsanctioned is not a normal unset. It is not a booster product. What it is a pre-made box set.
I think
it is going to have 5 30-card decks. And the idea is they're each of one of each color, and the idea is you shuffle 2 of them together, and then you have like a fun 2-color unset deck. So for those of you who don't know, these cards are silver bordered. All of the sets that have been silver bordered are called unsets. So there's Unhinged, Unglued, Unstable, and now the one we just said, an Unsanctioned. So these are Magic cards, but they're not tournament legal, and they're kind of wacky. So we're gonna show you some of these cards. So there's a lot to talk about with just the set getting released. So we are getting some new full art lands. All the unsets have had full art lands, and they are gorgeous.
Amazing.
Yeah, they definitely feel like a throwback to the old unglued lands, which were the proper artwork lands.
But you just said no cards are legal.
So the basic lands will be.
The lands are black border. Everything else is silver border.
That is the way that they get players like me to care about the unsets.
Buy it.
Because I look at the lands and go, those are pretty. I need 20 of them.
Which now this is kind of tricky. Normally they're just one in a booster pack, so you buy a couple packs, you're guaranteed them, and those are normally they end up being worth enough that they're generally the price of the pack.
Yeah, I think that's changed since. I believe that Unglued is now worth like a sealed pack of Unglued is worth a bunch just because of the novelty, and all the lands have kind of gone down a bit from what they used to be because you have so many options for full frame lands.
And like even the most recent unset. those lands, depending on the color, run anywhere from $3 to $6.
Yep.
Those are
and we
yeah.
just had the Theros Pokemon Energy come out.
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah,
awesome
there's a
full art
lot of
lands.
sweet lands recently.
Yeah, and that's just the ones that are like the full art too.
Yeah.
Where you still have the cool ones that aren't the full art in the Euro lands and the APAC lands.
No.
And the other
and
lands,
the Guru lands
so,
if you were a big money baller.
Tam, can you
shot
pull
caller.
the land? Can you scroll down to the lands? Can we show our views of the lands? Because so that you get you will get one. So in each, you will get 10 of the full art lands. 5 will be foil, 5 will be non-foil.
Oh Jesus, they're gonna be foil too.
Five of them are, 5 are not. So that is probably most of the $50 value of this box is just going to be in those lands.
Look at that full art forest. That's amazing.
No, here's
the swamp's pretty dope.
Look
too.
closely at the.
That's telling. I want to point out that I zoned in on the swamp. You zoned in on the forest.
Look closely though at the regular framed lands. Every one of them has a hidden squirrel outline.
I'm checking the artist on these now. I can't quite make it out. Is that our boy Spencer?
We got
He's
a
really
bunch.
good,
We got a
too.
bunch of old schools, but something I want to celebrate us bringing in my my print of. Oh gosh, no, it's not Giant Growth. It's
It is Might of Oaks.
Might of Oaks.
No.
Might of Oaks. We have the signed Might of Oaks print that I got from Ron Spencer. We've talked about
Very
Ron
nice.
Spencer before.
Very
He's
nice.
a favorite artist of the show, and
Likes to
he
do rodents.
came back for a card. So can you go to the black cards, Tam, and we have Infernius Sponicus Esquire. Or the third Esquire, I believe.
Okay, he remembered that, guys, but he did not remember
Well,
the
it's
name.
Infernal
Unsang-
Spawn of
Oh
Evil.
shit! All of the spawns of evil.
Yeah,
are coming?
all the spawns are in it.
Oh boy! All right, so we got your boy Infernal Spawn of Evil with the mug full of hot cocoa,
Yeah.
and the little dig at WotC at the time where. Back in the olden days, you couldn't call them demons because
They thought
Can't
it would.
do that.
They
They
thought it
can't
would
do
cause
that.
drama.
Yeah,
Like there was
so
never like a thing. They just were
instead of-
worried,
yeah.
so they stopped printing
I
demons.
mean,
so
to
instead
be
of
fair,
demons-
Magic the Gathering was already a little bit like, the Christian moms are mad.
We are all
they had a
Satanists.
burning
We are all
a
Satanists,
pentagram
though.
in
Yeah.
the background of Unholy Strength, and yes, Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
But yeah, they originally, they had that in there as they crossed out demon and called it a beast instead because that was a bit more okay, that caused less drama. Then the next set we had next unset we had the Infernal Spawn of Evil. Note that one was written as Beast Child, and Beast is crossed
And
out.
now it's Demon
now
Child.
No,
Demon.
and now go down to the new one, and they kept the joke going.
Yep,
And so
yeah,
so it's a beast demon, but beast is crossed out and it says demon, and demon is crossed out and it says beast.
Hot damn. Good job. So, part of that, and it was kind of a big deal when Onslaught came out, you had a card called Grinning Demon. And that was kind of a deal because, hey guys, demons are back.
They back.
Look, we're way edgier than this newfangled
So
Japanese
edgy.
game called Yu-Gi-Oh! Whatever.
I do
we
like-
have demons again.
I do
oh,
like
shit,
that unsets in
Poltergeist?
general
Nice.
are commentaries on previous things.
Yeah. They get a reference stuff. So we have Richard Garfield, the creator of Magic, has his card. We have
Richard Garfield, PhD.
Richard Garfield, PhD.
Which I think there is... there's some anagram. I assume that it's probably
Like, the unsets are very
I think
self-referential.
It's is like something is an anagram.
Lily, what's
of
the Richard Garfield anagram? Questing Feldegrift.
Oh, that's the one. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
Feldegrift is
Damn.
Richard Garfield,
So we get
PhD.
we get
That
Cheaty Face
death
back.
character.
and look at
Actually,
the text on Cheaty Face. They eroded it.
Okay, if Cheaty Face is in your hand,
Is in your hand. That's the
okay,
key part.
That's good.
It
That's
didn't
good.
used to say
You
that.
may
So
sneak Cheaty Face onto the battlefield. If an opponent catches you right away, that player may exile Cheaty Face. So
they
that's-
eroded it.
So they made it a May thing too. Is like, hey, you're cheating.
So here's
And
my.
if they don't say you need to exile that, does it stay in play? Is that how that
You gotta
works?
keep it. Yeah, you cheated
Can I
into
get a
play.
judge call?
So here's my pitch.
So it's like you cheated. Good job.
So here's my pitch to you all. I'm gonna buy at least one of these, maybe more. We should record some games of that. Ungames are fun. So
Is Herloon Wrangler a reprint?
I don't think Herloon Wrangler's on there. I know Dave really wants to take his pants off on camera.
Fact, taking your pants off supersedes the stack.
Yeah,
it's
it's
faster than split second.
It's like
faster
it's
than
like
mana
more. It's like
ability.
morph.
Topsy turvy.
It's like morph.
It is. I believe it is faster than a special action as well.
I suppose you don't need priority to take your pants off.
Yeah.
Oh, Topsy Turvy. Fun fact: they
Yeah.
had to lower its rarity from rare to uncommon because they couldn't put the little foil anti forgery sticker on it, so they
Wow.
just eroded it.
Incredible.
They dropped it to uncommon.
Like I'm trying. I
That's
want to
amazing.
tilt my head to read it because I can't read it.
Oh, so but what Topsy Turvy does is it reverses the turn order. So you go cleanup step, end step, second main phase combat, first main phase, draw, upkeep.
Oh,
And it reverses turn order in a multiplayer game.
That feels like that
That's
should be
cool.
a rare. It's weird they downgraded
It does feel that.
I mean, it's not in a pack, so you don't have to worry about it coming up.
And it's an uncard.
Also, Kat,
really,
keep scrolling through Blue. We have we have a Beeble a group of Beebles that are a planeswalker.
Oh goodness! All right, someone notify Eric Peters.
Oh, we also really quick. We have Alexander Clamilton, who duels people.
That is a super soaker.
He's a
That is incredible.
He's a wordy matters general.
Oh no.
That duels people. And then
Alexander
right there
Clamilton.
we have BOB, which is what is it? It's what of Beebles?
Box of Beebles.
Box of Beebles?
It's not bunch.
B-E-V.
Bevy. It's a bevy of
Bevy
Beebles.
of
So it's
Beebles.
Bob, bevy of Beebles, and its loyalty is a static changing number equal to the number of Beebles you have.
Is this blood? Am I tasting blood? I feel like I'm tasting blood right
I like how Dave was like, "Oh, so players like me care about unsets," and now he's right here, all excited.
Now I'm
Salivating.
feeling the blood just trickle down from my brain. No, that's actually pretty dope. I know that Eric Peters, friend of the show, is a big fan of Beebles, so I'm sure that he probably saw this and went, "My time has come. I've been stockpiling on Beebles for years."
Eric has a uncube. Eric has a phenomenal uncube. That is some of the funnest limited Magic I've ever played.
I guess that's kind of the idea of unsets in general, right?
And he curated it very deliberately, and so it doesn't run the not fun uncards.
What,
so
like
it's just-
Booster Tutor?
No, it has a booster tutor.
Oh, it does still have a booster tutor?
Because it's a cube, so you just pull out another pack of the cube.
You pull out a pack of the cube. You
Yeah.
don't like just run up to the counter and go, "Hey, give me a pack of that."
You
set."
could do that as well. Booster tutor is reprinted in this.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, that's a card that you open a booster pack and you got to put a card from the booster pack
I
into
remember-
your hand.
I remember Chicken a la King used to be the promo, like some
Staying
promotional
power.
artwork that was in a like Inquest and Duelist back in the day. It was just that dignified picture of Chicken a la King because
and
chickens were a thing. In
Chickens
the first
got
onset.
errata all the birds. So they're actually way stronger now because there's more tribal synergies. And JC pointed out an interesting
Staying
card.
power.
Go up to the white cards, Tam, and let's look at staying power. Staying power. It's right there on the left.
That looks like
Enchantment.
that looks like a diseased wolf.
So what that card does is ruin everything because that
Until-
says effects that say at the end of turn don't. Yeah, it gets
So
real out of
everything becomes riding the Delu horse.
yeah.
Amazing.
And so there's another card in here that there's a commander. There's a red dragon commander with a white activated ability. So a red-white commander who you can pay to remove. Let's look at it. I don't want
Oh
to.
shit! Blast from the past.
Yeah, and it
God,
has
I
the
love
old
that
frame.
card. Yeah,
Old
it has
frame
to.
and
Oh,
old
God.
fogey and old fogey. Both are in the set. So the dragon. Somebody, where's the dragon? I'm blind.
Yeti another vortex.
Yet another Aether Vortex. That makes you flip the top card of your library, and if it's a creature, you treat it like it's in play on the top of your library.
Nice.
That is
Nice.
Stet Dragon Proofreader.
Yeah. So when you attack
I'm
with,
like trying to see if I can find.
so when you
typos
attack
in
with it, you get to deal 4 damage. Somebody read it. I'm blind.
I'll read it out.
Thanks, Sam.
Flying. Whenever Stat Dragon Proofreader attacks, you may exile a card from your graveyard. When you do, Proofreader deals 4 damage to any target whose name begins with the same letter as the exiled card. White, delete the first letter of the target permanent or player's name until the end of turn.
Or player's name.
Yeah. So if I'm exiling a card that starts with, so if I have a card that starts with A in my graveyard, I can delete the D from your name and hit you with,
And just be Avid.
yeah, and then exile my Aven Mind Sensor and for you.
Huh.
And so with staying
So-
power, you can totally clear someone's name out, and just keep it cleared out for the game.
You know, and now I'm thinking: did get reprinted?
No, blank didn't, and there's a card for.
Do you like how I'm doing the Pootie Tank thing?
yeah.
Like the only funny thing from that movie.
I haven't seen this movie.
Yeah,
Saying
no,
it's not good.
I have
It
not
is
seen
very
it.
very bad.
Post show.
But there's one part in particular, and that's his song of. I'll show you the bit later. It's
Okay,
kind of
but
funny.
there is a card from the unset that has no name; it's just a blank. And someone asked Morrow, if you delete someone's name, does it become the same name as that? And at first he said yes, but then he said, being a rules manager is hard. No.
So someone already had that thought and cleared it up.
Oh yeah, no. Blogatog.
God bless the internet.
Blogatog exploded because you could tell when Mark's real excited about something because all of it was asking questions about this set. It's like, oh, can you do this or how did you do this? Oh, also his comic. Morrow does a daily comic, and the comic today was actual real flavor text that got removed from Alexander Clamilton, and it was oh god.
Oh, I gotta know.
Oh gosh. Now I'm totally blanking.
Do I have to watch Hamilton now?
Who lives, who dies, who shells your story. Yes, you need to watch Hamilton. It's like one of the best things that have happened recently. But yeah, no, seriously. This set is super... I just want to say, this moment's really nice.
Like, I'm fighting the urge to just, like, smash this against the wall, but I'd end up hitting our audience.
Our in-studio
which would be a
audience.
big move, so I'm not going to do that.
So no, it's...
But that does make me angry. Very angry.
I'm just so... Even Dave's saying he's angry, but he's smiling.
Shut up.
This is so much fun. I'm so glad they're making this product.
Coming up post-show, just underwater puns from Hamilton lyrics.
Somebody on Blog and Talk sent him the intro of Hamilton rewritten to be aquatic themed. Like how does a mollusk, oyster, son of a clam, and I don't have it memorized, but no.
Jesus Christ.
It's so good.
I'm not watching this musical and you can't make me.
You really ought to. It's very good.
I probably should.
You just listen to the soundtrack. It's great. Everyone who hasn't checked out Hamilton, it's really good. If you watch our
stream right now and then go watch Hamilton and then come back.
You can't watch it right now, but you can listen to the soundtrack. It's hard. It's touring. It's touring. You could.
Oh, look at that! Look at that border art on Blast from the Past.
Yeah, no, old school.
Old school.
Blast's a super fun card. That is actually one of my favorite uncards to play with in Black Border.
We've got Madness Cycling, Kicker, Flashback, and Buyback.
So the card has a ton of really cool interactions.
That's like really referential to our last show.
I mean, basically. What are all of the abilities Dave
one with banding?
No, it doesn't. But Old Fogey has bands with dinosaurs. Go up to green. Go up to
that's
green.
relevant now because we have dinosaurs.
Because we have dinosaurs that are super strong.
Can you go to green, Tam?
Oh shit! With Enrage,
yeah.
That's very strong with Enrage.
And we has Rampage. Keep going down. We're looking for Old Fogey.
Elvish Impersonator and Free Range Chicken.
And there's Old Fogey right there on the
Oh,
so Old
nice.
Fogey just has a bunch of old, obscure...
It's a 7/7.
For two. But it has phasing, cumulative up... Tam, read off Old Fogey. Read off Old Fogey for us.
Cumulative.
All right, it has phasing, cumulative upkeep 1, echo, fading 3, bands with other dinosaurs, protection from... Homerids. Snow-covered planeswalk.
Homily?
Yeah, it's got snow-covered planeswalk.
Flanking Rampage 2.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
We were talking about planeswalk last week.
Yeah, it's planeswalk and planeswalk. Okay, we have Lily. We have Lily in the house. Lily, can you stack? Does phasing trigger or does phasing happen?
So it depends on the card.
Can we get Lily on mic for this? Sorry, I don't want the viewers to get half this conversation.
Phasing isn't. Phasing is just like a thing that happens before any player receives priority at the beginning of the turn. I think it's simultaneous.
So for the first, so we play this card, Lily, and the next turn it phases out before we have to pay the echo cost or the first cumulative upkeep. Correct.
Correct.
Then when the next turn, do we have to pay echo?
I believe you have to pay the echo the next turn. Because your next... okay, so it's treated as though it doesn't exist. Your next upkeep, as far as Old Fogey is concerned, is the next turn's upkeep.
So then you have to pay its mana cost again and mana.
And it does not get an age counter from the first turn when it phases out.
The fading. Yeah. No, this card is a nightmare.
The design is actually super cool because the age counters don't go away if it had flickered. If it flickers, the age counters will go away, but
they phase out.
Stay on, which I think is super cool.
I want to point out to everybody that I'm fairly certain this has to mean that Wizards R&D not only watches the podcast but also has a time machine, so that they can so that they can listen to us talk about how Ron Spencer needs to do artwork again, as well as, hey, we should have creatures with flanking.
And phasing.
And banding.
And what abilities would you like to bring back? Yeah.
Phasing, flanking, and banding all came up.
They not only watched last week's episode, but they have a time machine.
We even talked about snow-covered lands.
Yeah, snow-covered and planeswalk. Old
so
Fogey,
this
could
be
like is targeted to us, but that is a reprint.
Okay, so what if two things is happening? Wizards is watching the show, or we're just a bunch of old people shouting about how back in my day Magic used to be blank.
So what you're saying is
I'm
out of touch.
And antes.
Do you know if there are other dinosaurs in the set?
Actually, I'm not sure there's other dinosaurs.
Because one thing with the bands with other dinosaurs, it is any number of creatures with bands with dinosaurs, and then up to one that doesn't have it. So if you have like 3 dinosaurs, but this is the only one that has bands with dinosaurs, you can only band it with one other dinosaur.
Oh, that's right, because bands with is actually
Right.
the
So
worst
any number of
mechanic ever
creatures
made.
with banding, and then up to one
No.
without.
I don't think that's correct.
No, bands with is even more complicated than banding.
Yeah.
Bands with quantity. If you don't have the quantity, then it does nothing.
Oh, right. But all the things have to have the quantity except for one.
But they all have to
Yes.
have bands with, right?
Which is
yeah.
No, they don't have to just have banding. They all have to have bands with.
They're technically different mechanics.
Yeah, so bands with. So
They are.
so if you have a wolf with banding and a card that says bands with, those are different things.
They are different
you need
things.
everything with bands with that all have the same
Yeah,
bands
it's like
with.
shadow and flying.
which is mostly fine. It does nothing in this set, unfortunately, unless there's another dinosaur. It's really going.
Well, it
to
doesn't.
end up-
No, it'd have to have another. You'd have to have two old fogies because it would have to have another thing that said binds with. Right?
You could band it with a dinosaur that doesn't have bands with dinosaurs. But
So-
you could not band it with two dinosaurs that do not have bands with dinosaurs.
But now here's so with bands. But you could also just bands with
Sorry,
one
that's
card.
just on the attack, I think. On the
Okay.
blocking, you can do any
This has
number
become
of
a very
dinosaurs.
complicated
This is why
conversation.
they don't print banding.
It's
Yeah.
it's
Banning's a
fine,
nightmare.
because that's the thing as far as banding's concerned is normally you're only going to be playing the one creature with banding anyway. You're not going
Right.
to have a band of like 4 or 5 creatures. If you do, then
It
you're
becomes
doing
a
it for the
whole
lulls.
thing.
Wait, 'cause-
All
yeah.
right, cool.
It's
but
also
if you
way
have
better
a
on
thing
the
with
block.
banding,
Wait,
that's fine because you're going to get exactly what you want.
Banding and bands with both let you band with one thing that doesn't have the mechanic, right? Yeah. Okay. So no, it's a nightmare mechanic. They'll never bring it back. Anyway, so Unset, super excited. We're gonna buy this. We're gonna record some video because this just looks like too much fun not to.
That parrot makes me lol.
We also have a legendary.
What? So
We have a
hold on.
legendary squirrel.
The slaying mantis.
Slaying
Oh god,
mantis.
that's amazing.
Slaying mantis has.
I can see just a second.
Yeah, it's like
but I'm not
split
sure what
second.
that
Is it?
does.
So
is
it's like
wait,
split second.
It's doing an
So-
elbow drop from the
You know,
top row.
so what you do
Yeah.
is you cast it when you
Is
cast.
that sweet chin
So-
music? I'm not sure. I wasn't a wrestling fan.
So what just a second is, it's like split second, but what it says is, while this is on the stack, players can't move their cards. And then you spin it across the table, it has to rotate once, and every creature it touches while it spins across the table, it fights. Yeah. This
That
set's
card is
incredible.
incredible.
Yeah, this
That's,
set, yeah. This is
Can we get just a second for I need that
Chaos
for an
Orb.
actual,
Chaos Orb?
Like let's
Yeah.
actually make that a keyword. That's incredible. Well, it's another card with manual dexterity, and we already know
It
how they
is.
feel about that. So they
Yeah.
can do it in the unsets. They can't do it in real sets.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
Although old
Fall-
school
Falling Star exists.
Old
but
school. So Chaos Orb, C's playing old school, but old school it has its own version. Before we move on, old school is cards just from Alpha. It's
no,
that
is not correct.
Is
it
it
is
98?
93, 94.
93, 94. So that's Alpha, Arabian
Like
Nights.
I think I'm not sure if Legends is legal in that, but I know that Arabian Nights and Antiquities are.
Legends isn't. I'm fairly certain Legends isn't.
Okay,
so I
that
think
makes
it's just
sense.
the first 3 sets of the game, and they had to rule that card because people were literally spreading their cards out across the whole table.
Yeah, that's how
as
you
is
used to play
tradition.
around it.
Falling Star is you. It's an artifact. You pay it's like cost 4. I think
Chaos
it's pay
Orb is.
3. Chaos Orb. Cost 4, pay 3, or something like that. But you have to flip it. It has to rotate once, and then every permanent it lands on, it destroys. So people would just play with their cards all spread out. So in this format where you play the old school stuff in old school, it's just one card. It still has to rotate once, but you pick a target and it has to land on that card, and if it does, you destroy it. So people still play it. So if you're at an old school tournament, you might see someone standing up and trying to flip their card.
Falling Star is a sorcery.
Falling Star is a sorcery that did a similar thing. There are 2 manual dexterity cards in Black Border, Chaos Orb and Falling Star. Anyway, the Unset is coming out. We also have the Sword of Dungeons and Dragons, which was actually
Which looks like a Keyblade.
Yeah.
it's also a
It does
super.
look like
It's a super that is a card that some of these cards are totally fine for Commander, and so it's just like another sword. It has protection from rogues and clerics. It gives
nice.
+2/+2, and then when you attack, you
Whatever
Deals
equipped
combat
creature
damage
deals-
to a player. You create a 4/4 gold dragon creature with flying and roll a d20.
Nice.
if you roll a 20,
Repeat this process.
repeat the yep,
Okay. So if you get a critical hit, then you get another dragon.
and you get to keep going hypothetically. If you roll multiple 20s in a
Wait,
row.
can you read Scissors Lizard? Real quick?
Scissor Lizard cannot attack if a rock lobster is in play.
And Paper Tiger.
yeah,
Paper
yeah,
Tiger,
Paper Tiger.
Rock Lobster. So this set is super cool. Anyone have any final thoughts before we move on? Mostly I just want to talk about the set because there's just so many fun, exciting things as we clearly managed to demonstrate as we went probably
Look,
way over.
I didn't realize how cool Slaying Mantis was until I said its name out loud.
Oh, yeah?
So
So I encourage you to look at the cards. They have really cool art. They feature a lot of things, and a lot of the cards are they're referential to other things in Magic.
Yep,
and other unsets.
And if you want to Google, like, it's a fun little Google rabbit hole to go down, and kind of a good history lesson. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah,
because to play R&D Secret Lair and Enter the Dungeon, which I'm sure neither of those cards. I think you said Enter the Dungeon.
Enter the Dungeon is R&D Secret Lair is not, because there is a infinite combo that can allow you to make your opponent get you infinite beverages.
Ashnod's Coupon?
Ashnod Coupon, because the errata on Ashnod's Cupid, the as printed errata on Ashnod's Cupid is you have to pay for the beverage.
Wait, what's the
But if you have R&D Secret Lair down...
I'm so sorry. Scroll down real quick for me. Keep going. There's like a guy in a suit.
Timmy Power Gamer.
Yeah, Timmy Power Gamer.
Although, okay. So the old flavor text on Timmy Power Gamer was just wait till I get my Leviathan, which is like a ridiculously bad blue card that was very big but had a million drawbacks. The new flavor text is just wait till I get my Gigantosaurus, which is the 10/10 for 5 green.
Oh,
but
yeah, because he's got.
You only save 1 mana with Timmy.
He's got the He's got the freaking dinosaurs with feathers.
So there is a Brian Kibler for it was Hearthstone,
Gigantosaurus.
Streamed Hearthstone in the dragon costume that looks suspiciously similar to that costume. And Brian Kibler is the dragon guy, so maybe
I was gonna say the Dragon Master. Do you mean the Dragon Master?
The Dragon Master. There's also one where there's the Commander General. It's Surgeon General, but Surgeon's crossed out and says Commander. Oh, this is actually one. This one's relevant for the future, and so we see the card right there. And so whatever you, fuse. Read that card for me, Tam.
Augment, enchant, or mutate a creature you control. Draw 1 card.
Augment is in the unset. That's where you put 2 cards together and you kind of mix and match. And enchant is obviously enchanting, but mutate. That's not a mechanic yet. And Morrow said we learned our lesson with assembling contraptions, so. Mutate is a coming mechanic, and it might be the mechanic from Ikoria. We don't know, but mutate, we don't know what it does, but it's called mutate, and it's coming.
Mutate feels like a Simic ability, specifically the Simic Guild.
But also
they had Graft, and what was the other one?
Evolve.
Yeah, it feels like that's on the thought of.
We mutate. Also next set is build your own monster.
Yeah,
mutate seems like building a monster.
Seems like it fits in there.
So I'm gonna be really mad if this is just a black bordered unset, which it could be.
Oh my gosh, I love uncards. Uncards also let them push the boundaries of what they normally do, and they've also been cards that came out in unsets that just later became real cards.
Like Lauren Berry. Baron Glory?
Baron Glory. Baron Glory was originally printed as the cheese stands alone. Yeah. So sorry, we're gonna move on. We could probably talk about unsets for the whole episode. We're gonna move on. Jason, we gave you final thoughts. Dave, any final thoughts on the unset? On unsanctioned?
Yay! That's about it. Like I'm more excited than I should be about this set.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to play with you guys. This looks super fun. Also, yeah, we have the creature with infinite power.
That's Infinity Elemental.
Infinity Elemental.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Is that everything just kind of cascading like a Fibonacci sequence?
It goes on forever, and the flavor text goes on forever.
I guess golden ratio, something like. I'm not sure.
That's closer to Xeno's Paradox.
Lily says Xeno's Paradox. I'm dumb, so I don't know anything generally about anything. Okay, we're going to move on. But before we move on to our next topic, we're going to take a moment to talk to you all about our sponsors. Take it away, whoever recorded the ads this week.
MTG Study Hall is brought to you by Cards Custom Build, where you can get some cool cosplay props, costumes, things along those lines set up like this sweet, sweet Vega mask. Get 5% off if you mention TCG University. And check out Ink Gaming, another one of our fantastic sponsors, and get some amount off of your purchase by mentioning TCG University in all caps. Check out the TCGU bookstore at tcguniversity.threadless.com, where you can get all sorts of cool stuff. Specifically, you can get the hashtag JamesSuck merch. You can get that on a duvet. Blankets. You can get it on rugs, tapestries, throw pillows. You can get shower curtains if you want to. So support the program, support this fantastic YouTube channel by talking mad shit on James. Hashtag JamesSucks.
Welcome back. We are going to move right along, because we talked about the unset for a really long time, to our next topic, Hexproof versus Shroud. So I'm going to give a quick little explanation of these mechanics. So Hexproof is something that goes on permanence, and I suppose it could also go on, it could also be granted to you as the player. and it prevents opponents from targeting that object with spells or abilities.
We used to call it Troll Shroud until they keyworded it.
Because it used to be...
Ascetic.
So Shroud, really quick, just so they understand that. So Shroud is this permanent or object can't be targeted by anybody. So your opponents, nobody gets to target something with Shroud. So Shroud has been around for a long time. That came around first. And then, like Dave said, there were some trolls generally was kind of the idea. They kind of wanted to give trolls...
It was primarily Troll Ascetic and the Last Troll.
Thrun the Last Troll. It was also on Plated Slagworm and Mirrodin, which, fun fact, was one of my first rares and one of my favorite cards when I started out.
Nice.
I remember it was during the Angel Fire days of Ravnica Standard. My friend Fernando played a lot of very competitive Standard decks, and I sat down with my dumb green deck and ramped out a Plated Slagworm, and he didn't have an answer, and I killed him, and that was the only time I beat him, and it felt really good.
The Angel Fire days.
So obviously, Hexproof is in almost every scenario better than Shroud. Because if something has Shroud, you can't put good things on it. You can't load it up with enchantments.
I would argue that Hexproof is better than Shroud in all but one instance. For the game, I think it is worse for the game.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so we're gonna get to that in a second.
Right.
Hold on. So, no, mechanically, rules-wise, you can come up with a few corner cases, but 99.9% of the time, Hexproof is better than Shroud power level wise. It is stronger. It is a stronger mechanic.
Yes.
So we have, for example, on the show the show title card, we have Geist of Saint Traft, which is a very good card. It's a 2/2 for 3 with Hexproof, and when it attacks, you get temporarily put a 4/4 Angel creature token into play attacking. And the other one is Simic Sky Swallower, which is a 5/5 for 7 with Flying, Trample, and Shroud. 6/6. Almost got it. So Simic Sky Swallower was also quite the finisher back in the day, but you can't do anything to boost your Simic Sky Swallower outside of, say, if all your creatures get +1/+1, that'll work, but you can't target it with enchantments. You can't put, let's say you have put 5 +1/+1 counters on it. You can't do that. There was a deck in Innistrad where Geist of St. Traff was printed called Bant Pants, where you would just play...
Ethereal Armor, and
auras,
Angelic Destiny,
all sorts of auras.
I think Rancor was a thing too.
Yeah, Rancor was in standard for some reason. The best aura ever printed.
I think Rancor is fine if you get to interact with what creature is getting enchanted. But
So as Dave is clearly demonstrating, there is a large group of players who find Hexproof very frustrating because I play a card, say, Geist of St. Traft or Invisible Stalker is a 1/1 for 2 with Unblockable and Hexproof. So you could play a card like that, stick equipment, +1/+1 counters, auras, all sorts of stuff, and then your opponent, outside of, now they can board wipe, they can make you sacrifice it, but most cards that are removal target. And so you really turn out most avenues of ways to answer and interact with these creatures. And so they can feel very good. It feels very good. One of my first good Magic memories was beating a player who had a much better deck because I had a big dumb creature with Hexproof. It wasn't called Hexproof at the time, but it was Hexproof, and I believe it's actually been errata to have Hexproof. And I think, Jay-Z, you were talking, you really like Hexproof.
I do like Hexproof. Because what to say about Hexproof? It makes creatures feel like, I don't know. I like the concept of that you can't have an immediate answer to this. Like, you don't get to answer this. And as long as the creature's not too strong, I like having that creature that's just bastard to get rid of.
I was fine with it with a card like Morphling, and I guess Aetherling, as far as its successor goes.
There's a number of dinosaurs that have Hexproof.
Yeah.
So.
Well, keep in mind, Morphling gave itself Shroud.
Yeah.
In particular, so I'm not targeting it, and you are not targeting it, thus making it more difficult to answer. I mean, Morphling is borderline impossible to answer if the person playing Morphling is playing it right. You
keep the mana
you
open.
can play Wrath of God. At the time, you could play Wrath of God. Now you could play Shatter Sky.
Yeah. Now hear me out. Print Hexproof, and this card can't be countered.
We have some of those.
Gotten that.
We have
that is Thrun the Last Troll, and
he has Regenerate.
And he can regenerate. That is true.
Thrun is a 4/4 for 4 with Hexproof, can't be countered, pay 2 to regenerate him.
And it was still a sideboard card.
Well, because Jace
for the most part,
if Jace the Mind Sculptor had not been around,
even after Jace got banned.
No.
I mean, it was okay. There were
like it saw play, but it didn't see a lot of main deck play. I mean, a 4/4 for 4 that your opponent can't really interact with. There were certain decks that just weren't trying to interact with you.
Yeah,
and I think for the most
there were
part,
also other good answers that could actually hit it.
Like Liliana got printed sometime after. You didn't really have many edict effects, but you did have Dave Judgment, but they could still regenerate.
You also had Blacks and Zenith.
You did have the Black Miracle that came in the next set after Thrun.
No. Blacks and Zenith was the X-Spell. Not the Black didn't get a miracle.
It was Black Miracle. I assure you, I played that card as a 4 of.
Okay.
When you ripped it off the top, you slammed it on the table, and your opponent got really mad.
So I think we're getting a little off track. I want to kind of focus this back down because we find ourselves in an interesting spot. Hexproof, I think it's probably fair to say, and if anyone disagrees, please shout out at me, is a fairly Timmy mechanic. It is a mechanic that enables you to keep your cool thing.
Yep.
And JC, would you fair to say you're Timmy?
Yeah.
Tammy?
I'm a very much a player that like I'm happy in the game if I got to play my big colorful dinosaur and do things
and
with
it sucks.
And
it sucks to play your big colorful dinosaur and okay, you paid 8, you tapped out, you paid 8 for that, 2 mana, it's dead.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean I generally I kind of lean both ways because hexproof creatures can and have taken over standard and other constructed formats. They're quite good. But
there's not that many of them though.
Then there was a point where they were printing more, and they've kind of eased back from the Thrun the Last Troll, Geist of Saint Traff days. But
I will say that recent printings of hexproofs, the creatures aren't that good.
And they've been
they're good. They're good. Don't get me wrong.
Like the problem that I have isn't necessarily whether or not the creature itself is good. Just by merit of having hexproof and being castable. When you look at cards like Slippery Bogle or whatever the elf was called, which I'm drawing a blank on it, but the one drops
Glimmers. It's got Glimmer in the name. It was a 1/1 for 1 green. It was an elf and it had hexproof. Glade Cover Scout.
Yeah, it was Slippery Bogle 5 through 8. But as far as that goes,
Slippery Bogle is a 1/1 for 1 green blue hybrid with hexproof.
So why do you hate Shroud less?
So I hate Shroud less because you still get your big creature that is cool and can't really be interacted with. See Simic Skyswaller, where we were talking about, well, what cards have Shroud on it that are iconic? Well, that's probably the only one because it was big stupid monster you don't get to target. But I don't get to target either. Like that's fine. So you don't get to try and make your stupid 6/6 flying trampler better.
You can't. Yeah, you don't get to enchant it. You don't get to pump it up. And the idea kind of is, I don't want to. I might be breaking us down into archetypes too strictly, but Timmy and Tammy really like hexproof because it enables them to protect their big things. And Spikes generally are often frustrated by hexproof because they don't get to interact.
You have to
or
then start playing cards that aren't very good in order to interact with it, like Diabolic Edict. I mean, you're probably playing Liliana of the Veil anyway in the format where it was good in. But it just felt really bad as your opponent gets to go, all right, turn 1, play this 1-drop. Turn 2, double Ethereal Armor, hit you for a bunch. Turn 3, play this Daybreak Coronet or this Lifelink thing, and you are so far behind, unless you have an answer right then and there, you're probably dead.
And I also think it's really telling. We don't always have such a nice debate where where the table is so nicely divided because JC is pitching a hypothetical scenario. I have this card I care about. I want to resolve and I want to play it, and I want to make sure it lives. So I get.
And I'm arguing that it's not that toxic because the creatures are never I'm going to win the game with this. Creatures generally,
or you need to do some work.
Which is a good point.
Yeah, you need to do some work.
I don't think that Bogle has ever won a high-profile tournament. I don't think that's
overly
impressive.
That's what I'm saying.
Modern.
Every hexproof creature I can think of off the top of my head, it's not I play this and the other player scoops.
So, I mean, Geist of Saint Traff was scary, but at minimum, and particularly when he got those pants on. But at the end of the day, he was a 2/2, that you could block, and then if you blocked it, it was dealt with. And it was really quick to finish. Well,
not exactly. You still out Apostle's Blessing in that standard format. You had the unsummoned variant Vapor Snag. I think you had actual factual unsummon too.
I think we might have.
But you had plenty of ways of being able to go turn 4 attack. Here's a 4/4 Angel. You blocked my 2/2. Cool. I'm going to bounce it. You were still playing cards like Rune Chanter's Pike to give it first strike and make it pretty big and win pretty much any combat. I'm pretty sure that Rune Chanter's Pike.
No, it was. That was the deck. It was the deck. It had Delver. It had that and Rune Chanter's.
It had Invisible Stalker.
Yep. They had both, So that was the pants deck. And one thing I think is interesting, JC has this hypothetical scenario where an important card to her is protected by this. And Dave, you go, this constructed deck, this deck in Modern, this example here. And so I think it's a pretty good Timmy Spike, which it's not a good players, bad players. It's a what you enjoy, what you get out of it. Shroud is more of it's more of an equalized thing. It's I have this cool thing, I can't interact with it, you can't interact with it. Now they clearly have distinct things, and you could use them both in an environment and do different things. So you could say, here's the kind of creature that we want.
And don't get me wrong, Shroud feels cool too.
So, and you could do Shroud and say, okay, this is a really impressive card, but we need to make sure it doesn't get, the enchantments are too good, so we'll give it Shroud so no one gets enchanted. The interesting thing is, though, they have stopped printing Shroud in Standard. Every now and then we will get a card with Shroud. Usually, they stopped doing that.
Usually
I think
green
it's probably
card.
a reprint, right? Because I can't remember the last Shroud creature we had.
Lily, have we gotten any new Shroud cards in like a Commander product?
I'm like,
I think we have.
well, okay, so like I'm 60% sure we haven't.
Okay, so Lily's thinking we haven't. So I can't think of an example card. I'll check at some point. The reason, one of the main reasons Wizards stopped is they made hexproof because newer players or just people generally assumed that's how Shroud worked. They thought, oh, you can't target it. Well, it's my thing. I can target it. You can't. And so they made a mechanic that was closer to how less experienced players were playing it anyway.
Well,
Now,
that's the
I
thing.
will say, as a person who likes, I do like themes in general, and there is something that is very thematic about a creature that no one can touch. Like, that's very much like, can't touch this. Like, I'm sleek, I'm beautiful, you can't touch me.
Or like,
you can't touch me, you can't touch me, no one can touch me, you can just look at me.
That feels like an Eldraine ability, certainly. It feels like maybe that should have been the glorious return of Shroud. Like, put that on the questing beast.
Yeah.
Oh God, yes.
It doesn't have
yes.
enough words on it already.
Give me. Oh my God, please give me. I recorded Brawling with Brett with Questing Beast yesterday, and I won 7 of my 8 games. Please give me Shroud on Questing Beast.
Have Shroud now. You can't use your stupid fight cards with that. And
it'd still be fine.
Fine. You want to do creature combat? Let's do creature combat. Do creature combat.
Yeah.
Make that happen.
And that's the thing. Like, I actually run a lot of decks that are pretty much, I play creatures and turn them sideways. I enjoy doing that. I mean, that is like a bread and butter kind of Magic kind of thing. So, like, I'm not generally interacting with my own hexproof creatures a whole bunch anyway. So it's still kind of carrying the, like, well, it's just a special boy who can't be touched.
And I mean, and something to keep in mind though, it can get overwhelming, but auras are generally bad.
Yeah.
And so getting a deck where you can play, so the only decks generally that see constructed play that use auras, so Rancor comes back, so Rancor is not card disadvantaged like auras generally are.
Well, you can fizzle it, you can counter
you can, but generally speaking.
Yeah, Rancor targeting my creature, I'll respond, Doomblade your creature, put them both in the bin.
Oh yeah, which is a great play.
Casual 2-for-1, but generally if they're Rancoring a creature, you probably didn't want to have to kill that creature.
But so the aura decks that have seen play were the ones that had Rancor, the ones that were built around hexproof creatures, the ones that were built around enchantress creatures that draw you cards when you cast or enchantments, or I guess Bestow. And Bestow is another attempt to say, okay.
And I like Bestow. I like Bestow a lot.
Bestow
I thought that was fine. That was real good.
So it's one of those tricky things where there is different gameplay for both, but I understand Wizards' hesitance to print them both into Standard. I think they probably made the right choice giving us hexproof.
I am curious though, like, if the argument is that you don't like it because you can't interact with it, why don't you hate Shroud as much?
So your opponent doesn't get to interact with it, but you do. Like I've played enough games of Bogles, like won and lost, that just didn't feel like they were good games of Magic. Period. Regardless of what my outcome was, I just feel like that wasn't really Magic.
Right.
Like there have definitely been an equal number of games where my opponent has 6 enchantments on a creature.
So you're saying it would have been a better game if your opponent hadn't been able to interact
more
with that
more interaction.
I feel like it would have been a better game because they wouldn't have been able to play Bogles in the first place. And
Makes sense.
Play something different.
Okay.
But it just always feels like whenever Bogles is being played, just neither player's having fun.
I mean, the Bogles player probably is.
I'm going to tell you right now, after casting an Edict Effect and 6-for-1ing them, they were not having fun.
That's
and
fair.
They let me know in the chat that they were not having a good time. They were straight up not having a good time.
Fair.
And me dying with the answer in my hand also is not having a good time. Like, yeah, you can totally answer your opponent with a Wrath Effect.
I mean,
and you have Supreme Verdict, And when you die with the Supreme Verdict in hand and 3 mana in play, there you go.
And I guess the idea kind of is, so Simic Sky Swallower would be better with Hexproof instead of Shroud, but it wouldn't be wildly different. If you're playing the Sky Swallower, in most games outside of quarter cases, you're probably just attacking with your huge dumb guy.
Right.
So him having Hexproof is not
and that's what I'm saying. I feel like you're using some admittedly older corner cases.
Well, I mean, they aren't. I mean, they're getting older now because, oh my god, how long ago did Innistrad come out? But the gameplay,
we haven't had Shroud in years.
But
that was the last relevant Shroud creature.
The gameplay, there's a huge gameplay difference between. There's not a gameplay difference, much of one, between Hexproof and Shroud on a huge creature.
Yeah.
There is a huge difference on a 1/1.
On a small creature.
A 1/1 with Shroud.
Who cares?
Who really cares? Yeah. Now that's it. Invisible Stalker with Unblockable and Shroud wouldn't have seen any play. That's like a limited card that enables the thing that when you damage your opponent.
God, I'm drawing a blank too, and I hate myself for it. Spectacle.
No, not well. Yes, Spectacle. What's the Bloodthirst is what I was thinking. But Bloodthirst or Spectacle.
You can still ninjutsu with it too.
Yeah, it's like there'd be a couple corner cases for like.
Is there some infect mechanic you can use there too?
Well, it'd be if it has Shroud. So
not infect.
So there is so giving infect to a Shroud creature, a Hexproof creature is really easy, but it'd be harder to do it to a Shroud creature. So the idea generally is, and Dave, tell me if you feel like I'm coming wrong here, Shroud doesn't feel as bad because on the big creatures, it's not that big of a difference, but if they get a 7/7, okay, they get to stick their 7/7, but it makes a very different environment when it can be on 1/1s and 2/2s and other stuff there, because Hexproof and Shroud are wildly different at those lower costs.
Right.
Like, I mean, I would definitely be fine with, all right, I can't use spot removal on your creature, I have to find some other answer to it, and at the same time, you don't get to put Angelic Destiny and Rancor on it.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
And so, I mean, Wizards is...
And I think that's fair. I think that's a fair feeling.
It's
that,
like some sort of weird delegation. Well,
and they've eased back. Yeah. So Wizards has done a lot more temporary hexproof, paying a cost. So Wizards likes to create what they call shields down moments. Mm-hmm. So that means that, like, instead of a card having indestructible all the time, you might discard a card or pay some mana to give it indestructible. And the idea is your opponent will have to keep a resource up, or if they want to tap out or expend those resources, it gives you a moment. Their shields are down, and you can punch in.
Yeah.
Where I guess Dream Trawler is a great example.
Dream Trawler is a perfect example.
Having played it and played against it so far, it almost feels like you're almost always in a very different position where you're the one that's playing it. You're normally feeling like you're a little bit more behind, and all right, I need to keep this card because I don't want to discard these two cards because my opponent can still just kill me. And when you're playing against a Dream Trawler, you're going, oh shit, he has a card in hand.
Yeah.
I'm not winning this game.
And I mean, but even that creates an environment where you have 2 kill spells. You can go respond to the activation, kill
you're
spell.
still interacting with your opponent at that
So
point.
Wizards has shifted to a place where I think they probably made the right choice. Hexproof is easier. So I think they made several right choices here. Hexproof is easier to grok than Shroud. And you want people playing with the mechanics and having them feel good, because when you explain to the new player, you don't get to do anything either, that feels kind of bad. So Hexproof, I think, is an easier mechanic to wrap your head around, and if it's going to be evergreen, that seems like the stronger evergreen mechanic. They've also shifted away from...
it definitely is.
I'm fine with neither of them being printed.
I mean,
if we have a say
that's true. but if we're going to have one of them, then we're also limiting what we do. So we have Hexproof creatures, but they aren't all over the place. They aren't on super aggressive costed standard playables necessarily. And Vinemare, which was a 5/3 for 5 that was in the couple core sets ago for 4, that was seeing play just because it had hexproof. So there's a point where sometimes
from black.
No, it just had straight hexproof. That one had straight.
It can't be blocked.
Couldn't be blocked by black creatures, and it had a hexproof. So even when the creature's not that good, sometimes you just play it because it's got the word hexproof on it. But they've eased back. Sometimes it sees play, but it's not like Geist of St. Trap levels.
It was straight up hexproof. I think that was another instance where that card was just played a turn 4 Vinemare. I guess the game's over now.
Yeah, and then you get to put auras on it. You put the Blanchwood armor on it.
I guess Blanchwood armor was, because I was trying to think.
I played that
auras
deck.
Were even legal and standard at that
Blanchwood.
time. I guess it would be Blanchwood armor. Yeah,
it was awesome. You played in a mono green deck with Gigantosaurus and Galt. It was a lot of fun. I like mono green. But anyway, so and so they've eased back on that, and then they've also done more things that give temporary hexproof. And so I think they've made some good choices. My one suggestion would be, I think there are cool and narrow designs where Shroud is very neat. And I'd like to see that in some supplementary products. Like, I'd like to see some creature, and you can get some good flavors like you can't touch this. Yeah. Maybe it's like a ghost, and so the ghost doesn't get to pick up the sword because it's a ghost, but because no one can interact with it, we could give it a really powerful ability or a combat damage trigger.
What if I'm doing pottery?
I'm all about that. I think I would love a pottery themed ghost Shroud card. Mark Rosewater, next Unset, make it happen. So that's kind of where I would come down on it. I think Shroud has a place. It is a limited place.
I'm so sorry.
That's fine. I'm just realizing that I think there's a Pavlovian response that anytime that anyone says something along those lines, like, my immediate response to laughing is instead getting angry, and I feel like that's probably not healthy.
So, okay, I talked a lot in this section. I'm sorry. I'm talking all over the place.
We have to. It's fine.
Let's wrap this up. Final thoughts for you two. I feel like I've done mine.
So, I feel like...
Pardon me.
Shroud is as easy to explain, but maybe not as easy to digest for a new player. But also, I think I would almost prefer Shroud to stick around rather than Hexproof, because like from the way the world should work kind of headspace, if a creature can't be touched, it should not be able to be touched.
I would like to leave you all with a corner case on this thought of the last time I remember pacifism being playable and constructed. It involves Sun Titan and creatures, I believe, with hexproof.
Yes.
Where if you have your pacifism in the graveyard, you play your Sun Titan or you attack with your Sun Titan, you get to return a permanent, mana cost 3 or less, to the battlefield. Now, you are not targeting when you are attaching the pacifism to your opponent's Geist of Saint Traps.
How auras work is you target when it's on the stack. And
you don't.
So,
So
when you cast it and it's on the stack, you have targeted at that point. So Dave's right. If you can bring one back into play with a graveyard effect, it just slots onto something regardless of if it has hexproof or shroud. It just kind of glides right on.
So the first time seeing that, you're like, man, that's weird. Why did you cast pacifism on your own Geist of Saint Traft? That's not how that works. And then someone explains the interaction, you're like, wow, that's incredibly narrow. Geist of Saint Traft is a stupid card anyway. I hope it never attacks again.
So, yes. Thank you, Dave, for making sure we get here's a confusing corner case you can do.
Here's a corner case.
I remember that card being registered in somebody's 75 for a tournament. It involved Diabolic Revelations and Unknown Shores, or whatever the Unknown Shores variant was in that standard.
Oh, man. Okay, we need to move on because we are already... you get a long episode because we got excitable about uncards. So we're going to go on to our last topic here before we go on to the post-show and it gets real weird.
Politicking.
But not just not like the early part of the show, politics, multiplayer politics. So initially, this topic was going to be multiplayer strategies, but we kind of decided to narrow it down.
Politicking is kind of a multiplayer strategy.
It is a multiplayer strategy, and now there are other multiplayer strategies, and I think those deserve some other topics. Tam, write down aiming for second, because that's a topic I want to cover at some point. But so.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's a fun one. But so
it's related to politicking. Though.
It kind of is. That is a less that is just exploiting your players. But politicking, is playing politics or being political is all it is doing is offering things outside of the game for game action. So not even outside of the game. So a good example is, let's say the three of us are playing multiplayer and Dave's doing really good. I could say, JC, could you let me attack you with this creature that has a damage trigger, and then I'll use its ability to mess with Dave. Or let's team up together, and then we'll fight it out, but we're going to kill Dave first, is a good example of politics in multiplayer.
When you said outside of the game, things like that, my immediate thought there was like offering food. Because like the last times that I've played EDH have been at IHOPs, and now I really want mozzarella sticks.
I guarantee
I just needed to share with the rest.
I suppose you could say, I'll buy you
mozzarella sticks.
I guarantee you that was not everyone's first thought.
You could say, I'll buy you mozzarella sticks if you kill Dave.
Like, dude, no, I mean, you have to have the mozzarella sticks like right there. Give them the instant gratification.
Okay.
But then I think you're getting closer to bribery, and I feel like that's a little bit more
bribery. Like
unethical.
you just slide the mozzarella sticks over.
Yeah.
If you're offering like a quid pro quo within the game itself,
quid pro quo.
If you attack him with all of your creatures, I'm going to target you with my Kenrith and let you gain 5 life.
Yeah.
In exchange for 5 life, I need you to attack
and
that dude,
Kenrith
antagonize the shit out of him.
Kenrith is a great example of a politics commander.
I feel like a politic that I see more often than anything is when a player's whines. Like, you just attacked me last turn. Like, look at this person building. Look at that.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons that I hate playing EDH.
So
normally the times that I just played Godo and saw how many swords he could hold. The answer is 12. 12 swords and a batter skull.
So this is actually
just so everybody has something else to take.
Just because we're on the spikes, something Eric, who's been on the show previously, friend of the show, who won it was a Omaha PTQ a couple years back. Very good player. It was PTQ?
GP.
Omaha GP. Eric's a very good player. Mostly plays almost exclusively plays constructed, or I mean, I guess competitive. So he plays limited, he plays constructed, all that stuff. He doesn't really like multiplayer either. Dave, and you seem to have espoused similar sentiments. And I think one of the reasons might be, my guess is why a lot of really competitive players don't love Commander or multiplayer so much, is playing your deck the best you can and making all the correct choices
makes you an enemy.
Doesn't always makes you
It
it doesn't
makes you a
always
target.
it doesn't make you win the game always.
In a lot of the games that I played, it feels like winning the game is a faux pas.
Well, it can be a faux pas, but even if you start doing best, so like a lot of people like Magic, and maybe David, do you like Magic? One of the reasons you like Magic is likely because it is enjoyable and engaging to make the correct choices. To have these choices open and find a path to victory by making good choices.
You make me sound like less of a sociopath, but sure, yeah, we'll go with that. Like, I was going to say it's not enough that I win, they need to lose.
I mean, that's fine too.
That's a lot of how I play a lot of games that I do.
And so if you come into, I've played Commander with a lot of spiky players, and what happens generally is they will bring a very strong deck, and then they'll lose because they'll start winning, and someone, not necessarily me, it's me, will go, okay, they're doing really scary stuff. I'm not doing scary stuff. Let's team up and kill them. Yeah. And I'm not bad at convincing people of things.
Play your Wrath card. Play it. Look
or you
at this.
can. There's literally the games are. It's actually a separate skill. And Mark Rosewater, the lead designer, doesn't like Commander really because he doesn't like politics in his Magic. I mean, and that's fine.
Fair.
So yeah, there's no judgment here, and so I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of players just probably won't end up playing multiplayer Commander, and it's not one of those, oh, you'll just love it if you tried. It might not be the kind of Magic you want to play, but it is an interesting challenge, and it is a different skill set. Even if you aren't the best at playing the game, if you're really good at making alliances, you might way more likely to win.
And moreover, I feel like a lot of the way to not get a target on your back, and a lot of the strategy in multiplayer games is almost like vying for second. It's almost like I'm doing things, but I'm not that scary. I'm not as scary as
and actually,
that person.
I think that's probably its own topic, but but that's exactly it. So the game,
because that's a lot of the way I play when I play multiplayer is that, like, no, I'm just making dinosaurs over here. It's like it's a little scary, but it's not.
No, I mean
that scary.
I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I won my first game with my Queen Marchesa deck off of Revel in Riches.
Yeah.
I had that Revel in Riches in my hand the whole game. I was kind of in the lead for a good while. I was the Monarch. I was drawing cards. I had a good board state. I didn't play Revel in Riches because it would have drawn ire. Once we'd exchanged a bunch and the board state had shifted and the board had just been wiped, then I played the Revel in Riches. And so it wasn't,
So here's my appeal to you, Dave. You are making them lose.
I feel like I'm playing 2-on-1 already.
Yeah, I know. But
this is a conversation, not EDH. Damn it.
But here's my appeal to you. You are making them lose because they don't realize what you have. They are making a mistake in judgment.
So here's what it almost feels like. If I were to start playing EDH again, then I think that the deck I design would have to just be straight up Kingmaker, where you choose someone else in there, like, man, you're not doing too great. You're gonna win this game.
I lost
and then you just get them to win. Like that feels like that's really winning.
I lost a game on that day because I was doing really good with the other day. I was doing really good with Perforos. Cat jammed an Aetherflux Reservoir, brought herself to 4 to kill me, and then the other player killed her. But I didn't win because I'd been swinging a bunch of red creatures at her all game. And fair, no judgment on that play.
I also, I don't know. I like multiplayer.
I also
games
killed the crap out of Lily.
I get to play games like I get to play cards like Final Fortune because it's like, no, you can't kill me. I kill me.
I distinctly remember playing that with Icecrown Scepter and Platinum Angel.
Well, that sounds good.
You got to look like a real fucking wizard. When
real
you did that.
wizard.
Hey, can anyone break this loop? Nah.
But,
all right, that's cool. You're all dead.
But I mean, so politics, it is a complete separate skill set from normal Magic, and some people don't like that, and some people really do. So you can develop a whole different skill set. I mean, you can be overt in what you're doing, but you can also there's little things you can do. I'm gonna peek behind the curtain here. There's a couple things. So like you could say like JC Dave's scary. Let's team up, or you can start doing things that make you seem like a friend. So you can see I'm distressed by Dave's board state. Okay, this is my hand right now. This is what I got. What do you think? And you engage them. You make them on your team. You don't say let's be on a team. You take action that makes them think they already are on your team. Right. So I love this. This is why I love multiplayer. Mind games are a crappy thing to do to a human being in real life. In a card game, it's totally fine.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. There is a area of game design that designs games around telling stories. So they're like social games in general. Yeah. So I feel like this is Magic's kind of niche for social games.
I mean, yeah, you get it. I mean, a lot of fun with Commander. A lot of their surveys would be like,
watching me process all this. Like, yes, all of this checks out.
What are their surveys?
You're like yes. Yes.
Get that Jake Gyllenhaal gift.
Yep, I agree.
One of the multiplayer survey questions is like, tell us a story. Tell us a story from your last Brawl game, because they want to create those moments, and that's
exactly.
They want to create moments. They want there to be other things at stake. They want I mean, Kenrith the Returned King. You could just have him do good stuff for you, but every one of his abilities can also help an opponent. Yep. They print all sorts of cards. There's decks called group hug decks, and the idea is generally you help the table out so people don't mess with you, and then ideally you will then beat the last person left alive. I've my first Commander deck that I really got into big, my Zedru deck, was all about that. You made friends. You could donate your own permanents, and so you could give them bad things, but you could also be like, ooh, you're short on land? I'm going to give you 2 of my lands. Those are your land now.
So you can do a cool thing.
So you can do better.
So you can play in this game,
You do some cool things. Fight him.
Kill him. There was a tournament we played where when the 4-color commanders came out, I played the non-black one, which is like, when that's in play, everybody like can play an extra land and draw an extra card or something like that. I won that tournament. Because the people who were playing the really scary, there's the creature that comes down, you pick an opponent, and then you do double damage with all your creatures to them. The people playing those got really scary, and I'm just sitting here like, I'm letting everyone draw extra cards, and then everyone's dead but me, and they're like, okay, turn to kill you. Yeah, counterspell. So what? End the turn. What? Kill you? What?
What?
So it almost feels like you're just being an opportunist at that point. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because again, it's a game, so who gives a shit if you're an opportunist or not?
You know, if you're tricking people or playing mind games,
you don't get bonus points for winning honorably. Like,
it's
so long as you're not cheating. I think that's fine. I don't think that's cheating.
No, I mean, and it's
like, okay, so at what point do you think, this is a question I just had, and I'm curious on your guys' take, at what point do you think that playing politics in a game crosses a line into no longer trying to manipulate the system, but flat out cheating?
I wouldn't say, so cheating's hard. Obviously, I think bribery, something to keep in mind is don't let it leave the table. So if someone kills you in a game, they kill you. And that sucks.
But then just let it go.
But don't behave in a manner that makes people feel bad for playing the game. Yeah, so if you escalate the politicking to...
That's not necessarily cheating, but definitely something that's... use the same phrase as before, a faux pas.
And there's something I've done.
So I think there is a line though. I think there is a line of like that that you feel when you're playing a multiplayer game or you're playing something else where it's just like say the person is playing with their spouse or something like that, and every single game they're just like teaming up with their spouse, and it's a little like, this sucks.
Yeah,
you know.
You try to if you're wheeling and dealing, I'm all about wheeling and dealing, but ideally, it should be. I believe if you're playing Commander, you should be trying to win the game. I don't like chaos decks that don't do anything but make things hard. I don't like chaos decks that try to win the game. I like group hug decks. I actually don't even like Kingmaker decks that much. If you're playing Magic,
I do like playing those cards where you pass it around each turn and stuff like that.
No, it's like the cards like that. But I don't like the idea of I'm going to make a deck. I will never win, but I get to decide who. I will always get second, and I always get to decide who wins.
You get to Kingmaker.
I think you should be trying to win. If you have a vendetta or you can't win if you can't win and you get to choose, well, I'm losing either way. I can pick the person who's been messing with me or my partner wins, my ally. I don't have an issue with that.
And
but
also, I think you should stray away from being mean, and I think you should play with friends.
I mean, yeah, it's just one of those. Keep it between the tables. And there's something I've done in the past, and it's even looking back, it's kind of a little iffy. I think that if you make a deal with somebody, you should keep it. So it's like, hey, I'm not going to attack you if you attack Dave. There's nothing in the rules stopping me from attacking you. Yeah. Now, I've told people, if you breach an agreement with me, if you breach because I will always try to put limits on my agreements. Like, I won't be like, okay, if you do blank, I won't attack you for the next 2 turns, and I will hold to that. And I'll tell people, if you make an agreement like that and then go back on it, I will never make a deal with you again in any Commander game. Which, I mean, if you can't trust someone to say what they're going to do, I get it. But also, it's like, be cautious on how far you take something like that. So I've said that in the past, and it's probably keeping a rage-filled hit list of I will never trust you again. You're playing Magic.
Well, I think your reputation is going to enter into that at some point, too. If you're known to be someone that backs out on deals that you have in games, then
I'm not going to make a deal with you.
Yeah, man, if you do this and I'm not going to do this for a certain amount of time, like, well, cool. Well, I remember when you said that, like, to this person, this person, this person, this person, you kept going back on your words, so eat dicks attacking you.
Yeah, so taking into account someone's reputation, fine. I try not to swear eternal blood oaths anymore. I don't feel like that's helpful. Another good one, and I'm probably guilty of this too, is leave last game at last game. If somebody killed you really bad or messed with your plan, don't kill them first next game because that you were mad. I'm probably guilty of this too.
I think vendettas are fine provided you're not like actively making them feel bad or uncomfortable. It's just one of those. I remember the shit you did last time.
No actual hexing your opponents. Don't mix magic and magic.
So yes. So we've gotten long. So let's wrap this up. At the end of the day, I'd say for Commander, you know your play group. If you guys do a certain, if your team does if your group of players does a certain thing and nobody cares if you say, oh, you killed me last game, I'm going to get you, and you're having fun, you're having banter, great. If anyone is feeling consistently frustrated or upset every time you play Commander, you need to talk to your fellow players. If someone is doing something in or out of the game that is frustrating, talk to them. Because if you are playing Commander, ideally, you are not playing with anything on the line but fun. And if you're not having fun, what are you doing?
And speaking to that fun element, I feel like if you're playing multiplayer games, this is a good opportunity to try out decks that you normally wouldn't try.
Yeah.
And try ideas that you normally wouldn't try, but that you've been really wanting to, but you don't know if it'll really work well, or it takes a lot of turns to actually get right, or
try out the cool combo.
Try out that cool combo.
But be ready to hear, hey, that combo's won the last 3 games in a row. Can you play a different deck? Could you change something up? You just be willing to kind of move around.
Be willing to, if you get that Polyraptor combo off, go ahead and just play a different deck.
That is certainly one of the reasons why I've built decks with Kamal Fist of Croatia.
Oh, good Kamal.
So you can blow up everyone's lands?
Whoa.
But Pit Fighter, you just...
Yes?
No. It's the Commander. How can I do that in mono green?
For anyone who's just listening and not watching, I'm making a face at Dave and turning my head a lot.
Sure, I mean, that feels like kind of a stop hitting yourself type moment. All right, Wrath of God. All right, cool. Make all of your lands creatures.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up. Dave, JC, any final thoughts before we move to the post show and get weird?
No. I still want mozzarella sticks.
Okay, mozzarella sticks. Okay, so Lily, do you have a thought?
I have a thought on that.
Okay, Lily had a thought. What's your thought, Lily? Lily in the studio audience jumping back in.
I think you should just run cards that you're the only one at the table who knows how they work.
Yeah, that's what Lily does. So Lily will play a bunch of cards and explain a bunch of things, and then we'll pause and we'll say, okay, Lily, what happens on the board now? And then the game will continue. It's actually really nice because Magic's a crazy game and Commander gets out of hand. So having someone who understands the weird things that can happen is really nice. Make friends with a rules advisor / judge. It'll be good. So
it'll make you better.
It'll make you better. So we're gonna wrap up, and I'm gonna try not to just repeat myself 30 times as we do this. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to us on Patreon. That's the big thing. Something that really helps us. Tell a friend about the show. Post it on your social media. If you get another person to watch the show, that goes probably farther than anything else you could do. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate your support. Stick around for the post show. It's going to be fun. If you want to see the post show, $1 on Patreon. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. Remember who you are.